Hello, so today I'm showing you guys how you can prune your lavender plants at home so you can get them ready for next year. So if you're like me and you live in the UK, having lavender in your garden can be very beneficial. Not only do they introduce good pests like your bees, your butterflies and your ladybirds, they can also be used in many other things as well. They can actually be used in crafts, in making stuff. They can be used for culinary purposes, so like cooking, for like seasoning. Also aromatherapy, because lavender do smell quite nice. But in order to have all the benefits of lavender, they actually need to be pruned properly or they won't grow very well. And this is what I'm hopefully going to be showing you. So when pruning lavender, it's important that we do it on the correct date. Usually you prune lavender on the late part of summer, early parts of autumn. There is an 8x8x8 rule, which is usually 8 inches on the 8th day of the 8th month, which would be the 8th of August. By the time this video would go out, it'd probably be later than the 8th of August, but it's still fine. Also as well, you want to notice is you only want to prune it once the flowers start to die off, which they have. So this plant here is ready for pruning. When it comes to pruning, we've got to make sure we do it correctly, because with lavender, you don't want to prune too far or else it won't grow. Because if you prune it too much, you potentially end up killing the plant because it won't grow back. So this is a good example of cutting back too far of lavender, as you can see here. I cut back too far into the actual dark wood of it, and unfortunately it's never going to grow back. This is the #1 problem with cutting back lavender, is if you cut back too far, it just will not regrow. Notice how this one at the moment is quite full and quite bushy and growing quite strong and showing a lot of green growth. But if you compare it to this lavender bush here that has never been pruned before, as you can see it's quite laggy, very woody, and it's lost its shape. Not a lot of green on it either, but if he was to prune this back now, it will not look good. The only way to actually save this one now is we do a hard prune and try and promote the new green growth at the bottom and try and promote that growing instead. So unfortunately we could end up losing this lavender bush due to the fact we haven't pruned it properly. Alright, so now on to the pruning. So I'm going to demonstrate it on this branch here. When it comes to pruning lavender, you don't want to prune any of this bit here. This is what we call the dead wood. If you was to prune any of this back here, this would never grow back. What you need to prune is basically on the new growth. Ideally what you want to try and do is leave up to 2 inches of the new growth and prune about there. Because what this would do then, it would stimulate the growth in the lavender plant and help it to grow out even more next year. So like I said earlier about the 8x8x8 rule, in theory you want to take 8 inches off, but some of the branches you won't be able to. You want to leave about 2 inches of the new growth, and you want to try and do it so it's like a ball effect basically. So we need to try and shape it as well, because there's a lot of branches that have gone sideways, so we need to try and minimize that by trying to prune them as far back as we can and try and create like a ball type shape. Right, so before we prune, it's important that we've got some pruners that are quite sharp, clean, because we don't want to end up snagging the plant. We want a clean cut. So like I said, we want to try and save about 2 inches from the woody part, so probably about here we'd do on this part here. Basically we want to follow every single trail we can, so probably about there. This one's a bit longer, as you can see, that's probably a lot longer than 8 inches, so we're probably going to do about there. So we've got a really small one here, so we're just probably going to do it about there. Just basically take the top off the flower. That one there, about 2 inches. This one here, you can see is quite long as well, but I'm going to try and keep up this ball technique we've got going on here. So I'm going to prune it there. That still gives us plenty of room. Same as here. As you can see here, this one splits off into 2 different directions. So what I'm going to do is just prune it there. Probably prune it up there as well. So it keeps those two going to grow up separate. This one here, just going to cut that one off there. So trying to keep our little bit of a shape going on. Right, so these are quite awkward because they're coming out on an angle. I don't really want them to come out on an angle. There's nothing I can really do about it apart from just trying to make them look a bit more tidy. This is looking good. There we go. Starting to look completely different now. Quite a much smaller plant. Looking so much better now. So now, that is now finished. We've given it a nice little ball effect. We've took off plenty and still left a lot of the green there. So hopefully now, because we've pruned it, it's going to stimulate more growth, and this is now going to grow even bigger next year, and we're hopefully going to have a lot more nice smelling purple lavender flowers. Right, so now that we've actually cut it back, we can now expose the inside of the plant a little bit. And it's also good to prune off branches like this one here, where, well, it's just snapped off. This one here has got nothing growing on it at all, So it's good to try and get rid of them, because that's just going to be a waste of energy for the plant. So it's just good to get rid of them. This is all the leftover lavender that we had from pruning. And the good thing is about lavender is they've got many different purposes in what they can do. Even after you've pruned them, you can use them for art and even cooking. So they are very useful for that sort of stuff. And also, if you want to grow some more lavender, you can use these cuttings to be able to start growing some new ones, or you can use the seeds. If you can hear that, there's a slight rattle inside. And that is just full of the seeds. Where the old flowers were, is now full of little seeds, in which you can basically use to grow some more lavender next year. Or what you can just simply do is now just compost them. So that is how I prune my lavender bushes. Now it is quite scary at first because you don't want to end up killing them, but once you know the basics, they are quite easy to do. You can do them really easy every year to make sure that you increase the yield growth and get more lavender every year. So that is just a simple way on how to prune your lavender plants at home. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you next time.